Where we were getting our processing done. So I forgot the rest of the race. I ran round to the laboratory, gave them the film, came back, finished, went to the podium, photographed the podium, then went straight from the podium back to the laboratory because it took 1 hour for to process the E6 film. And there was the picture, the one picture of the tyre. So then I said I want 50 copies. And they said, well, come back in 1 hour. I came back. 50 copies, and I went into the press room and basically went to all the journalists and magazines and named my price. And that's when I was able to buy my first new car, Peugeot 205 GTI.
A great moment, yeah. But it was, it was using that opportunity that Keith got there to also, not just because this was his second year of doing all the races. He was still really a junior in Formula One, but getting to know a great way to introduce yourself to all those journalists that were in the press room. And not just that, it was a great way of sort of saying, yes, you've got the shot, Keith. We want to use it. And it was in Autocourse, the annual that comes out at the end of the year. It was in all the magazines all over the world. So I think it was a great way of promoting Keith as and the agency, Sutton Images, as an agency.
It was obviously a big step up.
Yes.
There's a few points in your career when you think, well, that was a next step up,
Yeah.
And that's how. But I mean, going back, then we sort of went off the question there about how we arranged the day. I suppose going back to the Friday is practice in the morning from 10 to 12, and then
10 to 11:30.
10 to 11:30.
On Friday we're talking about.
Yeah. And then in the afternoon.
And then it's 2 till 3:30. So you've got lots going on in the afternoon. A full hour and a half session. So again, you need to plan that you can do as much in those 1.5 hour sessions as you can, because it's a huge amount of time. It used to be a lot less when you look years back. So you need to utilise that time. Then going into qualifying on Saturday, again it starts at 11 till 12, and then 2 till 3. And
we've also got lots of press conferences going on, and photo calls, and you need to get people talking in the paddocks. There might be some news stories there of for the future that you need to capture, and then
race day. You've got support races as well. We cover GP2, GP3, Porsches, Formula BMW. We generally just send one photographer out to cover those races, but again, he's got to know where to go, what to cover. And then on race day, obviously it's a full-on day. Generally get there around 9 o'clock in the morning. Support races all morning. Then into drivers' parade, where the drivers go on the track and they wave to all the race fans.
And if you're lucky, you might grab some lunch.
Yes. I don't think lunch is part of it. But
before the race starts.
Normally a sandwich or a bowl of pasta. Something that will give you a bit of energy. Obviously carry somewhere like Singapore, you need lots of cold drinks with you. That's very important to keep yourself, lots of liquid in your body. And then obviously into the race, the start of the race, the grid. The grid, I think, is a big part that a lot of photographers do miss. Keith and I always think that the grid is a key part of the race. It's a great place to get back to to see the drivers.
For me, coming from when I started, when the cars were actually parked outside the garages, they weren't inside the garages. And you could get, maybe in those days there was like 7 or 8 mechanics around there. There wasn't as many people back in the 80s. And we used to be able to get the pictures of the drivers hanging out in daylight, and the cars were in daylight. And if we were in Detroit, we'd get some nice buildings in the background, or Monaco, and it was fantastic. But now, all the garages, every race we go to, the backgrounds of the garages, the boards are all the same. So we don't actually know which race we're at until we, and that's what the advantage of the grid is.
You wouldn't know.
The cars are parked out on the grid. You're in daylight or night time in Singapore, but at least you get a feel of where you actually, which race you're at, and then the drivers are getting out their cars, speaking to them, putting the towels around them and drinking the bottles, and you might get some blue sky or some crowd
down with an umbrella or something. You've got something different than you would ever get in the garage. The garage is, like he said, they're generally the same every race. It's the same picture, portraits, drivers' helmets. You wouldn't, like he said, you wouldn't know which race it was. We would know because we know every picture we take. but generally the grid is quite special. Then going on from the grid, you've got you're obviously down first corner, second corner, maybe fourth corner, because we're putting 4 guys where we want to look for the incident.
It's the main overtaking areas, really.
Yeah.
That's what we're after. And then if we've got a spare photographer, we'll put him in
Somewhere
a place
unusual.
somewhere very unusual.
Such as? Like
Here at the Singapore Flyer at the top, in Valencia, standing in the swimming pool on a terrace for the first corner. You saw that one? Monaco, Hotel de Paris terrace, and the Churchill suite. Wherever we can get to, that's something different. Yeah. So that's
special access sometimes.
That's my job.
A bit of connection.
That's what I enjoy.
Connections.
The
with
special
friends.
access.
Yeah.
What access? That's curious. You mentioned that you've been in business for 25 years, 30 years.
Yeah, 30.
What keeps you going after? I mean, you mentioned that, in the garages they look about the same everywhere. So do you get challenged as in I'm shooting practically the same look? Why should I even shoot the garages?
Yeah, I think what keeps me going is going back to what I just said. It's to get in those different angles really, and be able to go to new tracks. Love Singapore. We loved Abu Dhabi. Looking forward to Korea. Love Valencia. All these new tracks is what keeps me going. Because that gives us new opportunities. We've got India next year.
It's not just the tracks
we've got
as well.
Austin.
It's the actual cities as well.
Yeah.
It's the people, the cities, the environment, the atmosphere. Certainly in Singapore, I was talking before, when I'm on the grid for the start of the race, the atmosphere, the buzz that you can hear from the people. There's no music on. The commentator will be introducing the drivers, but you can feel the buzz from the people. They really are enthusiastic, and that's the key part to it all. It's going to the new tracks and feeling the enthusiasm from the people. When we went to Abu Dhabi and it was completely full, you've got a similar thing with Singapore. It's a dusk. It's not a night race. It's going from dusk, so it's slightly different. But it's the enthusiasm. Keith and I have the passion. We want to feel the passion from the people, from the race fans. And if we can feel that, then we try and bring that across. Keith's picture for the first year, he was on the roof terrace above the main grandstand and got a great start shot with the Singapore Flyer in the background. And no one else took that shot. And I think that was just a really typical Singapore picture. Yes, last year he did the Singapore Flyer. Again, a great picture, showed the Singapore sign, all the people in the grandstand and coming off the grid. That's the sort of thing you've got to be showing, atmosphere as well as...
So no pressure for this year. What's my third start shot at Singapore? I can't tell you.
Do you know where the casino is? Have you got any? Have you got any friends in high places? No, potentially we've only just arrived, so potentially that is either a start position or a race or a practice position that's new because it's just been finished. Maybe shooting out of this infinity pool. The world's biggest infinity pool might be a picture, I don't know, but it's potentially a new position for us. That's what we're always looking for, new positions, and that's what we're looking for over the next few days. We'll go to the track this afternoon, have a little look round, walk the track, look for new positions. That's what it's all about.
Now, normally you work in 4-man teams, is that correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Then, the number of turns and so on. Again, like you mentioned that normally you plant photographers at the overtaking areas, right? But how? Let's say you have more than like a handful. Then you have only four guys on with cameras. So how do you deploy? What makes you choose this spot over the other?
I think it's just experience, really. Of the tracks and knowing where it's going to happen. I think obviously on the new tracks we've got to work it out, but we soon find out.
Yeah, places like Abu Dhabi and here, obviously with new experiences. Keith luckily came out here even before the track was finished and managed to walk the circuit even when it was still being built and created a story around the new track. And then was interviewed on ESPN Star Sports, a bit about his experiences, a bit about what Singapore's going to bring, even before the racetrack was finished. So that was great to have.
When I came out, we didn't. I had to find out which way the track went, and also the pits were just starting to be built. They were just knocking down the trees, which was quite amazing when I came back, when it was all finished, to see the finished product. That was quite...